Boxing, the sport of legends. But what if I told you that, for decades, it wasn't just about skill and power? What if the real winners and losers were decided not in the ring, but in the back rooms of smoky clubs, under the watchful eyes of the Mafia? From the early 1900s to the 1960s, organized crime had a chokehold on boxing. The mob controlled fighters, fixed fights, and made millions betting on outcomes they already knew. Today, we uncover the dark secrets of how the Mafia ran boxing and the fighters who dared to fight back. The rise of boxing and the mob's interest. Boxing has always been a sport of the streets, a way for tough men to rise from poverty to fame. But by the 1920s, it wasn't just fighters looking for fortune. The Mafia saw boxing as the perfect business, because in boxing, money isn't just made in the ring. It's made in bets, promotions, and behind-the-scenes deals. The mob took control of boxing in two ways: by managing fighters and by rigging fights. If you wanted to make it big, you needed protection, which meant working for men like Al Capone, Frankie Carbo, and the infamous Blowtorch Brown. Fixing fights, the mob's favorite trick. Fixing fights was the mob's favorite game. A fighter would be told to take a dive, to lose on purpose. If he refused, well, let's just say many boxers found out the hard way that saying no to the Mafia was a dangerous decision. Infamous fixed fights: Jake LaMotta versus Billy Fox, 1947. One of the most famous cases, the 1947 fight between Jake LaMotta and Billy Fox. LaMotta, one of the toughest fighters ever, admitted years later that he threw the fight because the mob told him to. In return, they gave him a shot at the middleweight title. It was a dirty deal, but in the world of mob-controlled boxing, it was the only way up. Sonny Liston versus Cassius Clay, 1964 and 1965. Sonny Liston, the heavyweight champion, was deeply connected to the Mafia. When he faced Cassius Clay, later Muhammad Ali, in 1964 and 1965, both fights ended suspiciously. In the rematch, Liston went down from what many called a phantom punch, a light shot that didn't seem powerful enough to knock him out. Rumors swirled that Liston took a dive, either under mob orders or out of fear for his life. Primo Carnera, the puppet champion. Primo Carnera was a giant of a man and the heavyweight champion in the 1930s. But his career? It was completely controlled by the mob. They handpicked his opponents, bribed referees, and made sure he won, until they didn't need him anymore. Once the mob stopped protecting him, Carnera started losing, revealing just how much of his career had been an illusion. Frankie Carbo, the mob boss of boxing. If there was one man who controlled boxing, it was Frankie Carbo. A member of the Lucchese crime family, Carbo was the real boss of the sport from the 1930s to the 1960s. He decided who got title shots, who won, and who lost. Even major promoters feared him. But in 1961, Carbo's reign ended when the FBI finally took him down. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison for extortion and conspiracy. This was the beginning of the end for mob-controlled boxing, but not the end of corruption in the sport. The fighters who fought back. Some fighters refused to play by the mob's rules. Muhammad Ali, for example, never let the Mafia control his career. And Sugar Ray Robinson, one of the greatest boxers ever, walked away from a title fight when he suspected the mob was involved. Rocky Marciano, the untouchable champion. Rocky Marciano, the only undefeated heavyweight champion in history, was one of the few boxers the mob couldn't control. Unlike many of his peers, Marciano refused to take orders from gangsters. He managed his own career and made sure no one dictated his fights. He was proof that a fighter could succeed without being a pawn of the Mafia. The legacy of the mob in boxing. Today, boxing is a billion-dollar industry with strict regulations and global organizations, but the influence of the mob still lingers. Fixing fights, illegal betting, and shady promoters, they haven't disappeared completely. The difference now? It's harder to see who's pulling the strings. Call to action. The Mafia's hold on boxing may be history, but the sport will always have its dark side. What do you think? Does corruption still exist in boxing today? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you love stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into the hidden history of sports. Until next time, keep your guard up.